On this week's episode of the K12 Tech Talk podcast, we are back from a short break to talk about New Hampshire's changing data privacy landscape before Chris talks with R.T. Collins, the CEO of Incident IQ. Thanks for listening.
Live from the NTP studios, this is the K12 Tech Talk podcast. This is episode 255. I am Josh. With me, as always, is Chris. Hello, Chris.
How's it going?
He's coming to us from his bunker because in Missouri we have tornadoes and snow and sleet the same evening. And with us from yet a different hotel room is Mark.
Hello.
Where are you?
I am in San Francisco for a couple of days.
Josh, do you notice he put his camera just off to the side to make us see the background?
Right.
And
yeah, right, exactly. The fine Hilton Garden Suite in San Francisco, and the view out the window is beautiful.
I've already had to look up the earthquake map to see, am I just dizzy or is it an earthquake?
And what was the answer?
I'm dizzy.
well, yesterday we had rain, and then we had potential tornado, and then we had snow.
Well, and give a little bit more clarity to that. It was the high yesterday was 70 degrees yesterday afternoon. Within a 2-hour period, it went from 70 to tornado to snow within 2 hours.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mark's dizzy from the beautiful view.
Yeah,
yes.
We feel horribly sorry for you. So I guess we can apologize for this being late.
Yeah.
We were at Midwest Tech Talk.
Yeah, I set up all the stuff. We were just at the MidwestTechTalk Security Symposium. Mark, you came in. Josh arrived. I had the table set up.
Mark and I, we sat at the table.
We just have such a good time, and we didn't do anything there.
We did sit in front of our recording equipment for a few hours with all three of us in the same room together, and we didn't record 1 minute of content.
We had people from Apple walk by. We had people from Google walk by. We had people David walked by several times. Great
opportunities, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the highlight of that conference, the unexpected highlight, was the Apple folks brought the Mac Neo, and it was just passed around.
No, your highlight of the conference was the photo from midnight 1 a.m. with listener Drew at Waffle House.
That's right.
Standing in the parking lot, pointing at the Waffle House sign.
Yes. I'd never been to Waffle House.
What?
Is that true?
Yeah, that was my first time going to Waffle House.
Did you get Waffle House syndrome?
I don't know what that is.
You're just out of it from all the carbs and sugar and...
Oh, yeah, for sure. We don't have those in New England.
Really?
That's shocking to me.
Yeah.
I thought they were kind of like Dollar Generals.
Yeah, me too.
Should be.
I was with Mark that evening before he went to Waffle House, and it was getting pretty late. And I said, see you guys in the morning kind of bit. And then the next day, Mark shows me a picture of him and listener Drew, and we can just say listener Lori, I guess, maybe.
Okay, listener Lori is probably the safest way to put that.
Who may or may not. I'll just skip over all that, whatever. But anyways, in a full, they're jumping in the air outside of Waffle House.
Yeah.
Pretty late at night. Or maybe it was early morning. I don't know.
I had told the waitress at Waffle House it was my first time, and then she said, "Give me your phone. We're going to take a picture in front of the Waffle House sign." So we all went outside.
Oh, I thought that was Lori's coworker that took that photo.
No, that was the Waffle House waitress.
That's all right.
Wow. That's hilarious. Yeah. And you got a hat? You got a Waffle House hat?
Did.
So let's go back to the MacBook Neo. So Apple came, they brought a MacBook Neo. Josh, you weren't there yet. So we were telling you that they were giving them away. Did you believe that?
No, not for a second, because I know you guys are jerks, and I know
the Neo's pretty nice.
Yeah,
is that quick hot take? Do you guys agree with that?
It feels just like my MacBook Air. Yeah.
Definitely. The proof is in the pudding when you actually get to hold it. It feels like a very solid laptop, and I think everybody was passing the thing around, very pleasantly surprised at the build quality. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
there's been a iFixit video come out, right, Mark? You watched it?
Yeah.
Some of the commentary after that video has been positive, negative. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that this is the most repairable Apple laptop, but that's not that big of an accomplishment because Apple laptops have been notoriously hard to repair. Two things that I want to know about is what does it take to replace the screen and what does it take to replace the keyboard?
Yeah.
The keyboard is almost 50 screws to take the keyboard off.
Well, but on the bottom of that thing, which was exciting to see, you could see the screws. You could see the entry points, which are not necessarily used to seeing, the entry points on an Apple device. So that was exciting to see. But then 50 screws that's a pretty high number.
Yeah, and I did not see a screen repair. So I think, it's a repairable device. Is this going to be something that you're repairing dozens of laptops in a day or a week? I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if districts migrate to this.
Do you think, I've read some comments, and I'm not sure I agree with these, that they feel that students will take care of them better because it's a MacBook and not a Chromebook?
Yeah, year one, sure. I think that will happen in the beginning, right? If you go from a Chromebook to a MacBook, you're going to take care of that thing a heck of a lot more. Just like everybody takes care of their car the first year you get it. Question is, can you keep it up? I don't know.
Well, some of the discussion we had too is, of course, Apple is going to push for Apple Care, whatever stuff to be used.
Sure.
And,
yeah.
But, I think about my school's culture. We have this technology support intern program at middle school and high school that we've created this culture where our kids are involved with our one-to-one. So to say to just shift it, even just put the monetary stuff aside, I don't know if I like that shift. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
There's this bigger thing going on where we're instilling into our kids, I think today, how to troubleshoot hardware and software. Where we've even talked, sometimes we get a Chromebook that works well and damage is less, like issues are less. Yeah. It's kind of and I say this lightly, but it's kind of a bummer because that impacts our student program because they're biting at the bit to fix things. And we're like, guys, things are working, let alone if you move to Apple and you're just shipping stuff off. I guess they can put devices in boxes.
Yeah, we saw that same thing, Chris, when we moved from HP to the Dell 3100 and the Acers, because they were just a more sturdy device. Our screen break rate and our keyboard break went way down after leaving HP. So yeah, I get it. There's a few things that are going to have to fall into place here. Monetary is obviously the big one. But if we continue to see this device cost creep with Chromebooks over the next 18 months, the way that it has gone in the last 3 months, there are going to be some very real conversations had.
Yeah, I think the first conversation to have is if you have an in-house repair program, even if it's just employees doing it, you need to really kick the tires on this one to see if is this a device that you still want to repair in-house. I do have a feeling that Apple, their most repairable laptop is not necessarily enticing districts to repair this thing in-house. I do think it's still a steep curve to repair just a broken screen or keyboard. But then the next question is how many districts that are on Chromebooks will switch platforms and what's the lift to do that? So I would say based on the Midwest Security Symposium, the excitement that people saw, a lot of districts are going to kick the tires on this thing.
Oh, no doubt. There is buzz and excitement around these devices, 100%. And you've got districts that normally would 10-foot pole an Apple device that are going to buy a handful of these devices, mine included. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
I think this is how you get every teacher onto a Mac at an affordable rate.
Well, so that conversation of wanting to replace desktop computers with a laptop, Chris, I think you've already done that for teachers in your district. If that, instead of a Windows laptop, which you're talking $1,000 minimum, likely $1,200, now you can do that with a $499 device, $599 if you want a fingerprint reader.
And they think they're getting an upgrade.
Right. Because, ooh, Apple. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, sponsor plug here talking about broken things. Chromebookparts.com, a great sponsor of the K12 Tech Talk podcast, and they can give you special K12 Tech Pro pricing on all your Chromebook parts. And they're also great with some videos and different things for your student repairs or your tech department repairs. So check out Chromebookparts.com. Mention K12 Tech Pro. They'll give you special pricing.
Mark, can I hit a piece of news that you don't have on your list that isn't K12 related, but it's cyber the Stryker hack. So last week, Stryker, it's a medical equipment manufacturer. They were hit with a major hack, a major breach, and it is believed to be attributed to a hacktivist group aligned with Iranian interests. And I was just reading before we came on the call here, before we started recording, I was just reading that they said there was no malware loaded to wipe all of these devices, and they wiped, hang on, let me get the number. Tens of thousands is the number, not super specific, but could you imagine wiping tens of thousands of devices with no malware? You want to know how they did it?
Well, let me guess. They got into the MDM?
They had admin access into Intune and issued a global wipe command. Yup. So that's from bleepingcomputer.com. There's a story over there on there that is going through this story. It says a source familiar with the attack told Bleeping Computer that the threat actor used the wipe command in Intune. Nearly 80,000 devices between 5 and 8 a.m. on March 11th were wiped. Blah.
I've seen over the last week a lot of alerts to be on the ready for hacktivist groups that are sympathetic to the Iranian cause. So you've got their two allies right now, are Russia and China. We know that those three countries alone account for the majority of hacktivist groups. So now's the time to button down the hatches if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, and if you're in K12, don't think you're immune to this.
What do you think the Intune administrator of that thought? Like, what you think? Those first 10 minutes of seeing that play out.
I'm going home. Light up a cigarette and I'm going home. And I don't smoke. It said the attacker carried out the action after compromising an admin account and creating a new global admin account.
Years ago, I used to work with a guy that, to save, I don't even know how much money you could even save, but he would do the thing where you buy your own like tobacco, like the paper and then the tobacco.
Oh yeah.
And we'd be at this one school district, and he'd be going to take a smoke break, and that smoke break would take like 30 minutes because he had to roll his own cigarette. Well, that I bet that guy went and bought the own stuff so he can make his own. Take your time outside, man.
Or marijuana, because that helps. Yeah, go ahead, Mark. What other news you got? What other marijuana-inducing news you got?
You just threw me off my game right now with that.
Well, you are in California.
We just assume things, Mark.
Yeah. All right, let's go to New Hampshire. So last year, New Hampshire passed a new law that was signed in by the governor that requires parents to give permission, schools to have written permission from parents anytime they want to record their child. This was not interpreted by the Department of Education until 6 months into the law. So in December of this year, they clarified that also states that a parent must sign permission if they're going to be at a basketball game and the game is going to be recorded. That even applies to rehearsals, and if a student is going to be recorded for any sort of teacher professional development that's not public. So all hell broke loose in New Hampshire. All of a sudden, every school district went dark with their basketball games, with their Christmas concerts were not streamed anymore. And the New Hampshire legislature had to quickly rush and get a clarification out. So they passed a new law just the last couple of weeks that clarified that events hosted by schools that are semi-public or are designed to be where public can attend, you do not need parental permission for that one. So do you guys record or stream any of your sporting events and Christmas concerts?
Oh, yeah. every Christmas choir, band, whatever. I think the only thing we don't make an effort to stream, and it's due to copyright issues, are the musicals and plays that our middle school and high school put on. Other than that, if it's a band or choir concert or whatever, music, sporting, football, basketball, volleyball, all the balls, wrestling, baseball, softball, all of it gets, like I said, all the balls. It all gets streamed.
What about tennis?
Last I know, I'd have to ask our PR guy, but we have a hot spot.
What about lacrosse?
You kidding me? We're not some uppity high school. We don't have lacrosse.
So next question though, do you post a sign, or is it just the assumption that because it's in a public area?
We don't have a sign, and actually, that's a good discussion point.
Yeah. Maybe
we do need to just, on the doors to the gym or the baseball field, the gates, whatever, you maybe record these premises are live streamed or whatever. That's probably not a bad idea. Because I think during a football game, the microphone on our huddle cam was picking up, let's just say, some colorful language from a spectator. That's probably not a bad idea, Mark.
We just had some interesting conversation. Like we do a media consent, acknowledgement, but that's even the olden days of can they be in the newspaper, and it applies to social media and stuff, so I think you could add some sentences that would work your way through this. But we actually had some buildings. So we're finally getting into what many of you have done for years, which is online registration. Our school district's been behind on that. We're finally moving into that with Infinite Campus. And that brought about our different buildings doing different things differently, where one building would ask for media consent, and then separate from that was like yearbook. And that's interesting that a parent might want their kid in the yearbook, but not consent to social media. And there can be different circumstances, but we were trying to line up all the buildings to be unified. Because interesting with that too is eventually the yearbook gets posted online. So then that would go to, well, did they do the media thing or not? So again, I just think about this when we think about they signed that form, we weren't necessarily wearing the hat of, because that applies to all the games that we're streaming.
Right.
Maybe we need to work that policy, massage that thing just a little bit to make it make sense again.
Well, and you've got some sporting events that are on a field outside, clearly in public view, and then other sporting events are in a court, which is you have to go into school grounds. So it's not clear cut, and it does require a little bit of clarification. So glad to see New Hampshire legislature quickly turn that around and passed a revised bill within 2 or 3 months of the issue being brought up. But that was a little bit chaotic during the Christmas season for those schools.
Well, New Hampshire. Chris, what is their state motto?
What is it? Don't tread on me, live or die.
No.
What is it?
No, close.
I have it on my wall somewhere here. What's the bit?
I have it tattooed to my chest. It's live free or die. That's right. They're de-emphasizing the or die part. If you see like tourism ads for New Hampshire in the Boston area, it's just going to say live free.
Well, sure.
We really enjoyed our time up in New Hampshire, and they're a lot like Missourians.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I brought home that sticker that I get like when I'm having a hard day and I'm, thinking about different things, I just look up and it says live free or die. It makes me feel a certain way.
What's the group of people? What's the...
Free Staters.
Free Staters. Thank you.
Yeah, that was interesting people.
Chris joined their movement. Yeah.
I joined the club.
All right. So speaking of cameras in schools, let's go to Chicago. There was a district just outside of Chicago that the local NBC Chicago news outlet did a story on them using a contractor that uses license plate detection to enforce residency requirements. So I thought this was Flock when I first read it, but it sounds like they're actually using data from a third-party provider to verify license plate information. They were paying $46,000 for a 3-year contract to get license plate data. And they would then use that to enforce their residency requirements. I'm floored that they would go to that length because when you're enforcing residency, you're actually kicking families out. And that's actually hurting your revenue. But to go even as far as tracking license plates and kicking a family out because you detected that their license plate was constantly being used in another city, and this particular parent that raised the issue had loaned their car out to a family member, and that's why the school district had thought that they were living somewhere else.
It wasn't going off of car registration information. It was going off of usage.
Apparently.
That's goofy. Chris, how hardcore is your district on proof of residency and making those families prove they live where they say they live?
And that's an interesting question because we're digging deeper into the online registration. Like we've launched it. I mean, we're hardcore to make sure we're, hitting the proper marks. But I know we have a neighbor school district that like every year they make their residents do a lot of extra checks. And I don't believe we're doing, and that's extra, like that's not a requirement that we just have to do. So I know that we're not, whatever you want to say, quote unquote, that hardcore with it.
We're hardcore. We make them prove it every year. And it's to the point where this last year we had like, I think 3 or 4 faked electric bills to try and say they were living.
Didn't you say one was like a piece of paper that just said like electric?
No, it wasn't quite that bad. But we've had handwritten notes before that get denied. These 3 or 4 were our provider is Ameren, our electric provider, and you could tell like the fonts didn't match.
Yeah,
I think we caught 3 or 4 this year that were faked electric bills.
We had an entire department whose sole purpose was to invest residency and then go after families. It was pretty intense.
Huh.
That's been, again, to talk about our district finally doing online registration, and it's 2026, and I'm really excited that we're finally doing it. But that's that lift. We were determining,
it's a lot. Yeah.
Someone has to do the stuff, and we've not had like a district registrar. We've not had people that are responsible for that. It's been very fragmented across the district. Well, we need consistency. That's been quite a heavy lift to figure out.
Yeah, it and hurt feelings. Like
I just this last week, like we added something to our building secretaries to do, and it's like I was telling the principals, this is really easy for me to say, like this is needed and let's do this, but it's just adding more work to our secretaries, that's not an easy sentence to say when you're in, which is why I asked them to go tell their secretaries, please. Said, let me know after you've told them, and I'll do the follow-up email.
Yeah. All right, Mark, what else you got?
By the way, check out Eaton. Eaton solutions fit every corner of education. They can tailor whatever you're needing for your district with their dedicated stuff. They have you covered, so they can do your power protection, your connectivity, all that you need. So check out Eaton.
All right, and last but not least, Wired has done a story on a problem that we've been seeing for years in schools, and now it's reached a whole new fever pitch, which is teens using AI-fueled slander pages to mock their teachers. Slander pages meaning TikTok accounts, Instagram accounts where they're posting text, images, and most recently, AI-generated videos. So Wired has finally jumped on this one. There are a few I would say third-party AI tools. One that I had never even heard of before that's commonly used called VIZOR AI, and this is what teens are using. They're uploading their child or their teacher's image and then having some pretty inappropriate videos.
How do you spell that?
VIGGLE. Are you uploading our photos right now to this and making some AI-generated videos?
We'll see. We'll see.
What have I done? Anyways, have you... I've dealt with slander pages and Instagram accounts for years. Are you guys starting to see AI-generated slander pages for teachers or other students?
I can't say that we've seen slander page use, but last week I disabled cameras for our middle school on Chromebooks. so they couldn't take pictures of staff or themselves. So, I mean, read into that what you want.
Yeah, we haven't had AI misuse like that yet, but absolutely over the years we've had social media fake accounts and the whole bit, so it just makes sense that this is what's going to happen.
It's coming.
What's the fallout there? Like, how far? I don't know that there's really anything the district can do unless it's taking place at school on a school device or interrupts the learning environment during the day. But say you're a teacher, Mark, put on your teacher hat. Again, teachers probably can't wear hats. Put on your teacher whistle or whatever. What would you do if a kid created a slander AI video of you doing something horribly inappropriate with potential of ruining your career? Like, what's that outcome look like?
I mean, you just have to blow your whistle at them, and then they usually take it down.
Yeah, that's it. Well, and so the amount of effort that kid is putting into making that AI video, I would say, is similar to the amount of work that our parents and grandparents did when they drew that very detailed drawing of the teacher. Like, it's the same problem. It's a mischievous kid. It's just the technology's gotten a lot better. So I don't, the punishment should be the same. Right?
It's hard though. I mean, there's not much you can do to answer your point or your question, Josh. I mean, you can report it to Instagram and Meta and try to get these things taken down, but they're not going to listen to you. They don't really care.
No, they don't care at all. Yeah,
it's a little easier when it's student to student, because then my little tidbit here is if you report an image as being for somebody under the age of 13, they act pretty quickly to take those images down.
Yes.
But if it is a teacher, students generate content about their teacher or administrator, there's not much you should expect to get of a response from Meta or Instagram or any of those companies. So unfortunately, this is hard.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said, Mark.
Yeah, I used to. I wouldn't say I laughed at the SRO or snickered, but that's the words I got. But used to, they would come in when they heard about a snap that was sent, and they just think that we can magically take all kinds of action and get this thing, brought down. And I had to inform them that's not how it works. And some learning took place over time. But this technology, I mean, this is what's going to happen. This is the world that we're creating to live in. So
the ones that killed me were the confessions pages, where you'd have a random form, usually an old Google form, to submit your confessions, and then a student would post all those live on Instagram, and they were just horribly embarrassing. You could never verify who put it up there.
Yeah.
These things were it was just virtual bullying at a much larger scale than before. So
yeah.
This is where I wish the tech companies would play ball on this stuff, but they do not.
Like you said, though, if you contact them and you utter the phrase that it's with a kid under a certain age, they tend to act rather quickly. But yeah, you've got to know how to say it and what to say.
Well, that's my final tip for you. If you need to report something on social media, don't do harassment or bullying. Do somebody under the age of 13. You're going to get a much faster response from the tech companies because that's a federal law, as opposed to some of the other categories there.
I guess should I talk about the interview?
Sure.
Before we get right into it, I do want to talk about Meter. Check out meter.com/K12 Tech Talk. That's meter.com/K12 Tech Talk. You can book a demo with them. They will do your full stack networking, your wired, your wireless, your cellular. They can help you figure out your ISP, all that kind of good stuff. So check them out. I got to hang out with Incident IQ, the CEO of Incident IQ, RT Collins. So this is an interview. This is not like a, hey, just talk to me about Incident IQ the whole time interview. We actually dig into just thinking about your work order system or your assets and how much data you put into there. I think sometimes it gets overlooked what kinds of data we're putting into our ticketing systems or our asset management systems. So we unpack that with RT. And then we talk about the future of AI in regards to those systems as well. So a pretty cool interview with RT. So check it out. All right, I'm hanging out with RT Collins of Incident IQ. You are the CEO of Incident IQ. RT, glad to meet you. Happy that you're here. How's it going today?
It's going great, Chris. Thank you for having me. Longtime listener, excited to be with you this afternoon.
Yeah, that's awesome. We just met for the first time over a Zoom call. And you were saying that you've listened to us for a while, and of course we appreciate that. And what is your ritual? So sometimes we talk to listeners and they have like a particular time. Sometimes it's random. What's your thing? When do you listen to us, or when do you try to listen to us?
I try in the midst of other chaos going on in the Collins household. I'm a father of 5, as I was sharing with you. So it's bonkers at our house. My wife's morning to sleep in a little bit is on Saturday. So I'm up early with the kids on Saturday, and I'm making pancakes or refereeing fights or whatever I'm doing. And then I've got you and Josh and Mark in one of my ears Saturday morning. So that's when I consume the pod, and
I love it.
Sometimes I have to go back and re-listen, as you might imagine, if I've got things going on.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Well, very cool that you listen, and of course we're excited about our sponsorship and partnership together. So oftentimes we talk about a company, we talk about their product service, and we fumble the ball. We don't unpack it as great as the expert would. So that's why you're here today, is to talk about Incident IQ. I bet our listeners have a pretty good idea, pretty good vibe of what it is that Incident IQ does, but we always like to kind of go all the way back to the bottom and just start again. So in a nutshell, I guess, would you tell me and tell us what is Incident IQ?
So your listeners may be familiar with this. We've been focused on serving K12's needs around IT service management, IT asset management, and then other back of house departments, if you will, their workflow needs through the years. We've been at this over a decade now, and we currently serve over 2,100 school districts across the country in representation in all 50 states. And that translates to 13.6 million students and some change that are in some way supported by the IIQ platform. So roughly 1 out of every 4 or 5 kiddos, depending on what big list you pull, is served through our products. We got our start with IT, and I know that's your audience's focus and probably our focus this afternoon. But over time, our customers really, as led by them, have taken us to other spaces within the broader operational ecosystem of the K12 school district, and have asked us to help them solve problems around facilities, maintenance work orders, HR related service requests, business office workflows, things like that. So pretty much anything that lives in like email or Adobe jank in your districts is that's kind of ripe for streamlining with our tools. But our bread and butter, IT support tickets, IT service management, and IT asset management, and that's probably what a lot of your listeners know us for.
Awesome. So I want to throw a little bit of like cybersecurity and student data privacy, those kinds of questions at you. If we think about ticketing, we think about asset management. What would you say is the role of those things as far as like incident response? Like if a security event is happening, who cares about tickets and who cares about asset management? Can you unpack that some for me?
Yeah. So if we're thinking along the lines of like a cyber incident in particular, I assume is kind of the direction of the question. For your ticketing system, that's going to kind of be probably tangential, right? As you're working on those kinds of issues. If there's really kind of two dimensions that come to mind for me where I've seen, you want to kind of be thinking about this on that bigger checklist of however you might be responding to that incident. One thing you'll see is like if an affected system, an attack or other incident is going to want to be one of those core systems in all likelihood, like ERP or SIS or something like that. So that's the kind of thing that like is just naturally going to be the source of a lot of inbound support requests as various users discover, oh, something is amiss with this core district system. So there's kind of two things that I think your ITSM solution can help you there. One, it could potentially be early telemetry. If you've got an issue going on with a core system like that, if suddenly you see a bunch of inbound tickets, everybody's struggling to execute a particular transaction in the ERP or sys access seems limited for some reason or whatever. Well, then that's okay, we've got something going on with the core system. So tools that flag problem tickets and kind of things that track back to a root cause like that. Those are things where we see our customers kind of utilizing those approaches to support that could be an indicator that you've got cybersecurity incident maybe on your hands. But beyond that, I think the other thing that you would want to be thinking about is just, again, how to basically manage that second order effect of user disruption around a core system before you get it back online. So to the extent that your ticketing solution has tools to proactively let users know, hey, we're aware the SIS access is disrupted and here's why. Being able to communicate those things proactively in the space where they would go to log their issue or kind of raise their hand that I'm having trouble with this core system, you're going to want to do that, right? You're just going to save yourself a bunch of redundant follow-up and kind of pain once you eventually bring that system back online. And then anything else that you might use to do one-to-many communication to your teachers or faculty staff, whomever might be using that core system, use that to close the loop eventually when you can get up and running. So that's just some quick thoughts.
Yeah. We're kind of touching on a bigger picture thing here. I was just talking to a secretary. She had emailed me directly, and we had gotten a support ticket too with an outage we were having. And I did some follow up with her just because I ran into her like in the office, and somehow we started talking about. I was just doing some quick education on. We have a thing that pings our important stuff every so many minutes, and we will find out that thing is happening. This was something that was down, right? And she's like, oh, well, then I won't email you anymore. And I was like, oh, no. We completely welcome, the support tickets and the emails. And, you want people to feel like they can report an issue, feel comfortable to report an issue. And then some of that, though, is that, which is what you're kind of touching on at the end, we need to communicate well when things go down. And people need to have a good way of hearing from us, and they know it's us, and they know what's going on.
But your anecdote raises another thing that I overlooked there is if you do have, those core systems that are, you rely on to protect the network and monitor things like that, that can be another way where, you can get those automated alerts if you've got those systems configured to fire emails, or if they have APIs and you want to build an integration, that can be another way to flag issues automatically.
Yes.
If you're getting pings in those systems and then you want to have that record of responding to it and addressing the issue within your ticket system, just setting that up, avoiding that manual step of, I got the ping, let me kind of create the record here. That just kind of gets back to kind of what your priorities are for tracking and managing kind of record keeping of everything all the work that gets done in a given day. It matters probably more for bigger teams. Smaller teams, kind of good visibility. Maybe it's a little overkill, but it never hurts to build a record, particularly if it ultimately tracks back to an issue.
Yep.
And
Yep.
folks kind of want to do the postmortem.
Yeah, we can dig into the weeds on the asset part of it. When the bad thing is happening, you need to know what assets you have.
Yeah.
If you're going to go around, you have to touch every computer and image every computer. You need to have a good inventory. You need to know what you have going, so you need to have that in place. You just do. I feel like I'm putting you in the hot seat just a little bit here. You're not even going to talk about instant IQ. You're just going to talk about these bigger picture things. But
well, and I'm happy. I mean, so everything I'm saying applies to things that we're helping districts
yes,
and our partners solve with IIQ tools. I can talk IIQ
sure.
all day, and I know that's kind of the point. I'm happy to, but yeah.
Let me give you another hot seat. One.
Sure.
I think sometimes or oftentimes a tech does a good job with putting documentation into a ticket, almost to the point of did we put too much information into the ticket? So I guess to pick your brain on this, student data, maybe in a technician's notes, and maybe it's not even the technician that did it. Maybe it's the teacher that says, little Johnny's device is doing XYZ and is explaining this stuff. What's your hot take on like data governance as far as your service desk goes?
Yeah, this is a great question, and you know, kind of weirdly has a few different dimensions to it that we think have thought a lot about through the years at IAQ. So our experience has been what you described is usually it's going to be that end user, that teacher, they're sending in the tickets.
Yeah.
And helpfully or unhelpfully injecting data that make that a little more sensitive, student data or otherwise. My thought on this, and where we've seen our partner districts have a lot of success, is if you know that there are particular types of tickets that correlate with protected student information or other sensitive data, then it's always going to be a good idea to try to use routing and automation, as well as your approach to permissions within your ITSM tool. Just make sure that those are only kind of going where they need to go. So if you had tickets related to SIS, related to the grade book issues in your LMS or wherever, that kinds of information, things that are going to tend to invite that teacher to jam in, hey, Johnny's student number XYZ, his grade is wrong, and the grade book, that's the kind of thing that we would kind of maybe want to pay a little more attention to. Well, then if you've got the capability to route based on those issues and those areas of expertise, and hey, that can just go straight to that person who owns the SIS, and they're going to be the right person to handle that, as opposed to hopscotching from my building tag to my network admin over eventually to the right spot. Now, that's only as good as the system's ability to correctly categorize issues, which I can talk about that as a challenge. I think we've got AI coming up on the docket a little bit later. AI shows a ton of promise to make sure you can get the benefit of this kind of approach to routing and access for tickets.
Yeah.
So that's one. If there's things that we can kind of predict when it'll come in, that's good. We've also built some tools in Instant IQ that can enable the end user, the requester of the ticket, to proactively flag when a ticket is going to contain protected information. And then likewise, agents have tools to do that too. So what that accomplishes within an IAQ is usually you've got some kind of notification schema for tickets that's going to fire off emails to people and kind of give them those updates. So when tickets contain protected student information in IAQ and those flags are triggered, either automatically through AI or proactively, intentionally by the user, then system external notifications, so emails that are getting fired off, will not contain the data that's flagged as protected. So you'd have to log in, have to be authenticated to see that, and then you get the benefit of permission. So it's one little step to kind of keep us from having that data in a place where it's like easily forwarded or printed or otherwise kind of leaking out.
Yeah, I think I would say if you asked a lot of techs, to identify, their systems that have a lot of data, that if it were compromised, what would that mean? I bet a lot of us might skip over our service desk just because it's just not on the radar. But there's a lot of good data that would be a big deal if it were compromised.
Yeah.
Or it needs to be taken seriously with the confidentiality pieces that are in it as well.
Correct. Yeah. And kind of to dovetail that, the last kind of thought I'd have for folks out there is, so things like your service desk tend to be overlooked when district IT teams or broader administrative teams get FERPA data requests from parents. So
Sure.
Every student or emancipated minor or parent guardian, can request like audit and access to their student education records. And we go to things like SIS and kind of pull all that down. But certain times, if we really need a complete picture, we'd need to think about these tertiary systems like your ticketing system. So in addition to strategies for protecting it, having a way to query it and pull that back. Where I've seen it come up, you might think, oh, that sounds theoretical, but where I've seen it come up in real life is around issues with districts that have student device programs, and you get like intentional damage or whatever, and then administration's kind of coming around and doing the accountability thing, and then now parent guardian kind of says, well, I don't believe that's not the case. I want a sense of everything that's gone on with this, where my students allegedly. So suddenly you've got to go to these other systems, and that data is suddenly useful and important in that regard.
All right, RT, I think I'm going to give you one more hot seat question.
Sure.
Let's talk about AI. We can assume that AI is making, and we know, not even assume, it's making its way into the K12 Tech's service desk.
Yep.
What would you say we should be paying attention to with that? Should we just turn on that faucet, let it do whatever it's going to do for us? What guardrails should we make sure have in place if we're adding AI into our service desk, into our asset management? What's your hot take on the state of that?
So it is really timely, Chris, like you said. We've launched products this last month, that are leveraging the capabilities of AI to start to solve some challenges that we have around service desk. Definitely get back to the guardrails piece of your question here shortly, because that's very critical. But to just maybe kind of set this up, where I see the potential of it adding value, and kind of what I would offer up to the listeners as use cases to think about is, I think step one, as a threshold matter, what we've really worked hard around with our AI solutions is the threshold challenge that kind of happens with K12 IT support. And this is this structural dilemma, I'll call it, where our teacher, she just wants to get that ticket in as fast as she or he possibly can. And that teacher may or may not be particularly tech savvy. I know your better half is a teacher. We love our teachers, but they may be where they're at on that journey. And therefore, they're just trying to jam that in, and they're trying to get back to the million other things that they've got cooking. And then those needs of a requester, of a teacher in this case, run headlong into what we need as IT professionals on the other end of that story, trying to solve the problem, which is we need details. We need actionable data to actually go work on whatever the issue is. So I'm sure it never happens in your district, but I've heard tell technicians getting tickets, right, that just say it's broke, right?
Yes.
What's broken? And the reason that that's a challenge, beyond the obvious, is that adds tons of time. That adds tons of time to how long this tickets sit open, and it soaks an already overburdened team to get in touch with that user and ask those questions. So generative AI's got a ton of potential to basically move up in the timeline and automate the running to ground the details. So what we have worked on is deploying. It's really a package of AI agents that do that work, but do it in a really teacher-friendly, user-friendly way that make that ticket submission experience a really natural language chat experience where they can just describe what's going on. And then the AI agent has got all of the context from all the other relevant systems.
Yeah,
so
that's
it
cool.
knows who this user is. It knows the assets that are assigned to that user or their room. It can bring all that to the party automatically. And then it can ask the questions when all we get it to begin with is it's broken. It can walk them stepwise down the path. And then the net result can be what we need as a tech team, which is an actionable ticket with all the data that we need to go get going and actually solve the problem. So I think that is one of the most exciting and just kind of like step one efficiency gain, because what that turns on is any of you will able to realize the benefits of all the routing and automation that you might otherwise have designed within your service desk. If you can get accuracy on the input, you can get efficient and you can really start to do some fancy things in terms of optimizing how you organize the work and tackle it on the back end.
Yeah, I can think about the years ago when we could add, like, we didn't have to type the same sentence over and over. We could just automate the response. Like the teacher says, projector not working. We could say, can you look up at the projector and tell us what the model is? And it was canned. And then there was technology and advancement where you could more automate that question. So to then have AI step in and have some conversation and just summarize the ticket and give the technician the ticket, already establishing this is the projector that you said was in the room, this is what the teacher's saying, all that kind of good stuff. That's a beautiful world.
It's exciting. And then if you think about those types of issues that you get, where even more of it is potentially fully solvable by our AI teammate who's having that front end conversation, or at a minimum, we can be sure that we're going to get all the info we need. So like a great example would be like a unblock a website, unblock a URL request. Commonly see this across the IAQ community as a frequent flyer ticket tag.
Sure.
And then very also common to these particular requests being incomplete. So just say, hey, I need this website unblocked. And the district likely has established criteria. And it probably lives out on the district website somewhere. If the teacher would just bother to kind of like look it up and give us everything, we could solve their request a lot faster. But they don't, either because they're unaware of that, or within our ticketing system, they kind of picked the wrong category and never saw that we need this information. That's a perfect use case for AI to make sure, okay, I've identified this teacher's needs a modification to the filter, needs to get to this website. Let me make sure they're giving the team that's going to have to evaluate this and approve it or deny it everything that they want to see. You can go capture that at the front end. And then that request can come back. And our AI partner could even make a recommendation, right? Based on other tools that we can build, go out, evaluate that site automatically, things like that.
I like it. Okay, so talk to me about the guardrails of this thing.
Yeah. So I think the things that you need to be thinking about as you're starting to explore, what can AI agents do for your IT support operations? There's a ton of potential out there. And even just now, like even if you're just thinking about, oh, shoot, well, the commercial LLM, when I'm playing around with it, I ask it to help me troubleshoot a power issue with my personal device in my personal life. And it does a halfway decent job about that. So we're all kind of seeing these glimpses of what this technology can do integrated within our IT support operations. So it's exciting. It's a brave new world, but I think what you need to be thinking about as you're making your forays into this is first things first is like, we don't want to be feeding LLMs more information than they need to actually process the request and come back. So if we stick with my little hypothetical and we were using an LLM to help us generate steps to resolve a particular power troubleshooting issue or whatever, or even better, if we were setting up an approach where a user could maybe self-help, right? We wanted to give the teacher, before the ticket hit our queue, some options to try. Well, then what information ought to be passed over to that LLM? However that result's being achieved, we want that to be the least amount of data necessary. And in our little hypothetical, that would be as little information as basically the issue and any related diagnostic around the issue. So it's a power issue, the cables work, whatever else might have been captured in that chat colloquy with our AI agent. It's just going to want to give it that, and then the model. So we want to make sure the system is engineered and designed to not pass it the user's name, because that's unnecessary, not the location. The LLM shouldn't even know that this is related to a school district, et cetera. And then, however it's implemented, that needs to not go to any off-the-shelf commercial version. If you're using an enterprise instance, then the other thing that we're going to need to see is that the model's not being trained based on that. So we just want to pass it a bite-sized piece of information to help us with the problems that technology can help us solve through the ticket support process. And it needs to be ephemeral. It needs to just go with that request, return the answer, not train the model. And then the other thing, I mean, there's multiple, but maybe two other thoughts here. As we build and deploy these AI agents, they need to work the way real technicians work, the way real IT professionals work, which is when we create access within software systems for folks that work for you on your team, that's cabined and tailored to their scope of responsibility. So if you're looking at an AI tool and it looks like it's postured to basically be required to sit on top of any and all data, then that's, I think, an opportunity to hit the pause button and think about that. Because if the AI's needs and its remit does not require that, then we're going to want to shape that. And it's going to be better and safer if the jobs to be done correlate directly with the permissions in the relevant system.
Sure.
So to give you an example in Incident IQ, we've got efficiency agents that we're building and deploying now. And we serve a wide variety of workflow needs, as I was mentioning at the beginning. So we've got teams that use our platform that are IT focused, and then they may have counterparts that work in facilities, and then they may have counterparts that work in HR. And that HR team is getting inbound cases, hey, update my W-2 withholding, my last name change, very sensitive stuff. And just like we wouldn't want that going to our building level tech at IT accidentally, same thing for our AI agents. They need to be able to have the same constraints based on their access, which APIs that they can bring data from, what can they see in effect. We should be able to understand that and control that really carefully. And then the last piece of the puzzle is however we deploy these tools, it's got to give us tools as administrators of these systems to audit what's going on, to see the trail of chat colloquies and other actions that the AI agents are taking. We've got to be able to see that post hoc so that we can inspect it so that it's doing good work, or in the event that we get a negative outcome, we've got to kind of backtrack on that. So I know y'all are very familiar with like the Google ecosystem tools, et cetera. So those are the kinds of administrative kind of oversight suite of tools that I think are the right way to run a railroad, and that should be a normative expectation that we should all have as we start to find efficiencies within IT operations as well.
I like it. RT, I'll tell you, I bet on K12 Tech Pro, on K12 sysadmin subreddit, usually a couple of times a year, someone will say, what work order system is everybody using?
Yeah.
Or they say, what's everybody using for an asset management system? And then you'll just get a floodgate of comments because people that's an easy question answer. There's a lot more questions that should be asked as follow-ups when that answer is given, because we just talked through three. We talked about service desk and asset management, but related to cybersecurity and incident response.
Yeah.
That's a bigger picture thing to think through with what are you using as your solution. We talked about data governance and what data are we putting in our system. And now we just touched on AI and then the guardrails with it. I think service desk, asset management can sometimes be the thing that we pick it and we kind of set and forget. I think you're touching on it's 2026 and we need to kind of evaluate what we're doing with those things. Because there's some things we could be doing a lot better probably obviously it sounds like Instant IQ is trying to figure that out for us. So yeah, I had more questions, but I don't think we're going to do them. Okay. I think we gave our listeners some things to think through. Awesome. Think about your service desk. Think about your asset management. Think about those things in relation to your incident response and to your cybersecurity. Think about those things in relation to what data are you putting into them. If your service desk were compromised, what data is in there? How are you? And again, how are you assigning those things? Who's seeing those things? Who has access to those things? If you're listening, evaluate that. And then if you don't have an AI workflow management, service management, asset management piece to what you're using today, maybe you should start thinking through what that world can look like. So check out instantiq.com. RT, thanks for hanging out with me. We will do this again at some point down the road.
My pleasure, Chris, and look forward to it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
All right, so thanks for listening. We have a couple things coming up where we get to hit the road. So April 13th through the 15th, we're going to be at COSIN. That's in Chicago. The three of us will be there hanging out with the podcast table, doing an episode. And then fast forward May 11th, Hayden's going to be in Acton in Maine at their leadership conference. You can check out Hayden there. And then all the way into July, we're going to be at the Gamus Conference. The podcast is Savannah, Georgia. And then also in July is the MidwestTechTalk Technical Conference. So check out those events. But those are brought to you and thanks to our sponsors, you guys that listen, of course, as well. But our sponsors like VIZOR, that's VIZOR. They just did a huge release, over 70 new features. One of those is a redesigned barcode check-in, checkout interface. So check out VIZOR.cloud/K12TechTalk. And then last but not least, Fortinet podcast at Fortinet.com. They were just at the Security Symposium showcasing all the great Forti products, as well as Classlink.com. Check out Classlink for your rostering and more. And then NTP, our friend David over at NTP, email David Wren, dwren at ntp-inc.com. Thanks for listening.
We might not be the same. You share the same pain that I do.
The views and opinions expressed on the K12 Tech Talk podcast are the personal opinions of Josh, Chris, and Mark, and do not represent the views or opinions of our sponsors or other organizations that we're affiliated with. The material and information presented here is for general information and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
We were buying words about a phrase of the and selling songs just to